Planet Jupiter. Analysis.
Location.
Fifth planet from the Sun.
Size.
Larger than 1,300 Earths.
Average temperature.
Minus 110 degrees Celsius.
Moon.
63 discovered so far.
Nickname.
The King of Planets. Distinguished by its giant red spot, thought to be comprised of a raging storm of hydrogen and ammonia, Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system, with a mass 2.5 times greater than that of all the other planets combined.
Cool, you can see 3 of the moons.
Impressed by its colossal size, ancient Roman astronomers named the colorful behemoth after their primary god, Jupiter.
Can't tell if we can make out the gray red spot.
Philosophers attributed human
I think it's on the other
happiness to
side.
the planet's power, giving rise to the term jovial. In a far-reaching journey around our sun, over 60 moons come along for the ride, including the Galileo-discovered moons of Callisto, Ganymede, Io, and Europa. But Jupiter is never in a hurry. Before it can complete just one revolution around the sun, we Earthlings have completed nearly 12.
Jupiter
I can see
is
a little
the
tiny
fifth
moon
planet from
just
the sun,
right to the left of
often hailed
Jupiter.
as the king of the
I
planet.
think that's Io.
It is so large
Io.
that if it had grown much larger, it might have become a star. Compare Jupiter's diameter of 85,000 miles with Earth's diameter of
thanks for
7,900
joining in.
miles. Jupiter is well known for its famous red spot.
No, we're in
which is
Ferndale
a
right now.
storm that has been raging for hundreds of years, or perhaps longer. The face of Jupiter is defined by colorful bands that are easily observed in a telescope. The
Yeah, we're
exact
observing those.
composition of Jupiter is not known, but it is thought to be made up primarily of hydrogen
we're looking
and
at Jupiter.
ammonia. It is believed that Jupiter has a rocky core about 5 to 10 times as large as the Earth's diameter. Jupiter has a harem of small moons, and several dozen have been discovered in the last few years. But 4 major satellites are easily visible orbiting the king of planets: Callisto, Ganymede, Io, and Europa. Ganymede and Europa are covered with oceans of ice, and maybe even liquid water under the ice. These 4 largest moons are known as the
Nice.
Galilean moons.
We're using
They
a
were discovered by
250,
Galileo in
203 millimeter, I think.
In 1994, comet Shoemaker-Levy 9, which had been broken up into 23 pieces by Jupiter's enormous gravity, crashed into Jupiter.
So that's wonderful. We're at least able to give a similar view to like an amateur telescope, or a nice amateur telescope. 114 millimeters is sweet. All right, that's Jupiter. You guys ready to go on to Saturn? Let me brighten it up a little bit. And now you can kind of see there, all 4 of the moons. Well, kind of. One of them's getting eaten up by the brightness of Jupiter. But that's all right. All right, let's go on to Saturn.
The planet Saturn. Analysis.
Location.
6th planet from the Sun.
Mass.
95 times larger than Earth.
Classification.
A gas giant.
All right, we're pretty close. Someone yell at me when it's in
And
view.
counting.
Nickname.
The Lord of the Rings. Second in size only to Jupiter, Saturn is the farthest planet from the Earth that can be seen by the naked eye. Its distinctive rings were first sighted by the astronomer
Oh, there it is.
Galileo in 1610. Today we know the rings, comprised of a mixture of dust and ice, are held in place by tiny shepherd moons, which orbit nearby. But not all of Saturn's satellites are quite so puny. The megamoon Titan, for example, is larger than the planet Mercury. When traveling to Saturn, be sure to pack a windbreaker. The forecast calls for howling gusts of up to 1,100 miles
Yeah.
per hour. Each
That's
day
pretty
on
cool.
Saturn
Let's
moves
see,
fast too, lasting just
let's
10
try and
and a
zoom in a
half
little.
Earth hours. Yet one Saturnian year lasts over 29 years here on Earth.
You can
Saturn
see how
is the sixth
the
planet from the sun.
turbulence in the
Ask
atmosphere is kind of like
anyone
making it
what
all
the most
warbly.
striking object in the telescope is, and they'll all agree
We can see the rings.
that it's
That's cool.
Saturn. Saturn is the second of the gas giants in our solar system, and only Jupiter is larger. Saturn turns very quickly on its axis.
Yeah, I do.
The day
I used to
lasts
not
only
believe in the
about
moon
10
landings,
and a
believe it
half
or not.
hours. The rings of Saturn are perhaps 1 mile thick.
Used to think
No
Stanley
one knows
Kubrick
for
directed the
sure,
whole thing.
but it's thought that the rings are made up of dust, snowflakes, and ice.
Yeah, I
Saturn
just
is
kept
not
looking
the
into it more and
only
more and was
planet
like,
with
wait a
rings.
minute. That means
Jupiter,
thousands of
Neptune,
people
and
weren't on
Uranus
this. Hundreds
were
of
all
thousands of
discovered
people.
to have rings during the Voyager spacecraft
And then there's
flyby in the
retroreflectors
late
on the
70s
surface of the
and 80s.
moon that we use
During the
to
recent Cassini spacecraft
measure its
mission to Saturn,
distance.
Saturn's largest moon, Titan, was examined extensively. Titan is the only moon of
Thank
the
you.
planet in our solar system that has an atmosphere, and liquids may flow or have flowed on its surface in the past. NASA recently announced that they have discovered a hydrocarbon lake at
We're going to go to the
Titan's
moon
South
after
Pole.
this. Okay, so bear with me while I just play with this telescope for a second. So my goal is to see if I can actually focus it a little bit better. That's worse. That's kind of what we were at. Well, I guess that's as good as it gets. One last look at Saturn. Oh, cool. You can kind of make out a little shadow there. But man, we got some nasty atmosphere tonight. Okay, on to the moon. Unless anyone's just obsessed with Saturn. I know. Alright, moving on. Moon! Oh, that guy's going to the moon. He's got the engine for it. Okay. This might be really bright. Sorry if you get blinded.
Location.
238,000 miles from Earth.
Oh,
1/4 the diameter of our globe.
Temperature.
In sunlight, 212 degrees.
I'm going to start lowering the brightness right now.
Minus 233 degrees.
Distinction.
Only extraterrestrial body visited by man. A silvery,
As soon as I
shimmering
find my
inspiration of
thingamajig, oh, there it is.
mythologists, astrologists, scientists, shamans, lovers, and howling canines everywhere. No celestial object has captured the imagination of humankind quite like the moon.
Okay,
With
there.
its
That's
vast
pretty good.
overlapping craters, the aftermath
Then we gotta
of
focus it
500,000
better.
meteor strikes, the moon's darkly spotted complexion gives it an almost human countenance. While strong enough to influence our ocean tides, lunar gravity is relatively weak. In fact, a 180-pound man would weigh only as much as a 30-pound child on the moon. As it synchronously revolves around our planet, the moon catches angled sunlight.
Yeah, that's a little better. Ooh, you can see the dust specks on my lens. That means I need to clean my lens. Gross.
A new phase on July 20th, 1969, when the first human touched lunar soil.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
No object dominates the night sky like our moon. It is also a striking object during daylight hours as well. Some astronomers have suggested the moon and the Earth comprise a dual-planet system. Our partner in the cosmos has very little atmosphere, and contrary to old wives' tales, it is not made up of green cheese. It is mostly made up of hardened lava, known as basalt. Aluminum and calcium have also been discovered, but very little metal. It is believed that
Oh,
when the Earth
here's
was
Tycho
newly
Crater
formed,
right down
it was
here.
struck by
There it
an
is.
asteroid, and material ejected from the Earth and formed a ring of matter. This matter eventually coalesced
Hang on.
and formed
It's
the
going
moon.
to jolt a little bit.
The moon has 1/6 the gravity of the Earth. During the 1960s and 70s, 12 United States astronauts visited the moon. In the early 21st century, several countries have announced plans to send spacecraft with astronauts to the moon. The moon. Perhaps since the days when our first ancestors walked this planet, mankind has looked up at the moon and felt a primal stirring to reach out beyond the Earth and grasp the mysteries of space.
Oh, you got a
The
telescope?
moon is
Oh,
our
yeah.
constant companion in our journey around the sun, circling our globe every 27 days. The moon pulls at our tide and beckons us to explore the cosmos. Until 1959, we could only glimpse one face of our satellite. In that year, Luna 3 stole the first furtive photos of the moon's hidden side. A mere 10 years later, Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stood triumphant on the lunar surface as mankind took its first baby steps in its quest for the stars. You don't need to be an astronaut to explore the surface of the moon. Try exploring the moon yourself. Just think of the moon as the first stop on a journey to deeper and deeper space. It is the easiest object in the sky to observe. Binoculars and small telescopes reveal endless details of its composition. Some features, such as dark and light patches, bright craters, and mountain ranges, are visible even to the naked eye. The first thing you'll notice is that the surface is made up of light and dark patches. The dark patches are known as mare, or seas.
Oh, that's so pretty.
They were once
looking.
believed to be bodies
Love
of
those
water,
craters.
perhaps lakes on the moon. In fact, they are ancient volcanic flows. The lighter patches are called terri and are commonly known as the highlands. These are the elevated areas and mountains. Now look again. What do you see scattered across the entire surface? Everywhere you look, you will see impact craters, evidence of strikes by asteroids, comets, and meteorites. More than 500,000 craters can be counted. And look closely at the craters. You will see craters within craters within craters. This suggests that the impacts have occurred over a large period of time, over billions of years, in fact. One crater stands out from the rest, and you can see it with your naked eye. This is the crater Copernicus, and it appears to have bright streaming rays emanating from it. Other important craters are Tycho and Clavius. Rays are quite dramatic. They are created by material thrown up by meteor and asteroid impact.
Copernicus.
Many craters have very steep walls. These are difficult to observe when the moon is full, but when the moon is in a crescent phase, the sun shines on the surface at an angle. Then deep shadows can be observed, and a sense of depth can be perceived. Try observing the moon with a telescope when it is a very thin crescent, and note how deep the shadows appear. The boundary between areas lit by the sun and dark areas is known as the terminator. This is the division between day and night. Features that look like dried-up riverbeds are called rills. Rills are dried-up lava flows. Some rills are geological fault lines. Study of rocks brought back from the moon revealed that it is made of hardened lava. Aluminum, calcium, iron, and magnesium, among other elements, were also discovered. The moon contains very little metal. There is no atmosphere and no weather. No air, no clouds, no rainfall. Films taken during the Apollo missions reveal astronauts bouncing about on the lunar surface. This is due to the fact that the moon is about 1/6 the size of the Earth and has 1/6 the gravity. Recently, several countries have expressed the desire to set up permanent bases on the moon. Bases on the moon may someday serve as way stations for astronauts bound for Mars. How was the moon formed? No one knows for sure, but the most common theory says that a large comet or asteroid hit Earth billions of years ago, which threw a great deal of matter into space. This matter formed a ring around the Earth. Millions of years of gravitational forces eventually formed the ring into the moon. A waxing gibbous moon occurs when more than half of the Earth-facing side of the moon is visible, but the moon is not yet full. A waxing gibbous moon can be seen in the eastern evening sky as the sun goes down.
I'm going to try and jump on over to the little telescope real quick. I seem to have lost the chat. I don't know. Oh, damn it. I hate it when I do this. Okay. Let's see if we can do this. So I can't see any of your questions. I'm so sorry. But what I can do is mess around with the telescope. So that I just yanked everything off. And, oh, cool. All right. So now we're on a totally different telescope. Not sure if it's in view or not. So that does not look like the moon at all. All right, maybe it's just really out of focus. I think that's better. All right, if I can't get this, I'm sorry. Oh. Darn. Whoa. Oh, I hope that's not condensation building up on the lens. Oh, interesting. Cool. Whoa. Come back, moon. Oh, cool. So it's really, yeah, it's cool that we have two telescopes just on the one mount. We could just do this. There. I think that's, no, it's still kind of out of focus, but you get the idea. It was so cool. Earlier there was a lot of clouds in the sky, so it looked really pretty. I'm going to go right back on over to Jupiter real quick, just for funsies, just to show you what it looks like on this little telescope. I know,
The
sorry.
planet Jupiter.
Gotta jump around everything.
Location.
Fifth planet from the sun.
Oh, there it is.
Larger than 1,300 Earth.
Average temperature.
So we're using just a little backpack telescope. This isn't like a $1,000 telescope or anything. Let's see if I can make it brighter.
Of planets. Distinguished by its giant red spot, thought to be comprised of a raging storm of hydrogen and
Ammonia. I'm gonna know this thing by heart at one point. Alright.
With a mass 2.5 times greater than that of all the other planets combined. Impressed by its colossal size, ancient Roman astronomers named the colorful behemoth after their primary god.
And there's the moons. How about that?
Later philosophers attributed human happiness to the planet's power, giving rise to the term jovial. In its far-reaching journey around our sun, over 60
Wow, is it
moons
shaky?
come along for the ride, including the Galileo-discovered moons of Callisto, Ganymede, Io, and Europa. But Jupiter
Look, the image is even flipped too.
before it can complete just one revolution around
Let's see if this can pick up the color
Jupiter
bands.
is the fifth
This
planet
little
from the sun,
telescope.
often hailed as the king of the planets. It is so large that if it had grown much larger, it might have
Can
become
anyone
a
see
star.
bands?
Compare Jupiter's diameter of 85,000 miles with Earth's diameter of 7,900 miles. Jupiter is
Just
well known
barely.
for its famous red spot, which is a storm that has been raging for
So with an
hundreds
eyepiece,
of
you could
years
definitely pick it
or
up,
perhaps
but the
longer.
live stream compression ratio and everything, it just
Easily observed in a telescope.
garbles it up a little
The
bit.
exact composition of Jupiter is not known,
But
but
that's
it is
really
thought
cool.
to be made up primarily of hydrogen and ammonia. It is believed that Jupiter...
And Saturn? Why not?
The planet Saturn. Penelope.
Saturn through an amateur tiny telescope.
Planet from the sun.
Mass.
95 times larger than Earth.
Classification.
A gas giant.
Moon.
60 and counting.
Oop, where'd it go?
Nickname.
The Lord of the Rings. Second in size only to Jupiter, Saturn is the farthest planet from the Earth.
Little baby Saturn.
Naked eye. Its distinctive ring was first sighted by the astronomer Galileo in 1610. Today we know the rings, comprised of a mixture of dust and ice, are held in place by tiny shepherd moons, which orbit nearby.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
But not all of Saturn's satellites are quite so
Oh, there's a
puny.
car coming
The
by. Sorry.
megamoon Titan, for example, is larger than the planet Mercury. When traveling to Saturn, be sure to pack a windbreaker. The forecast calls for howling gusts of up
You can make out the rings for the little backpack telescope.
Stay on Saturn moves fast too.
That's so cool.
10 and a half Earth hours. Yet one Saturnian year lasts over 29 years.
Whoa,
Your Honor.
where's it going? Sorry, this
Saturn
thing's
is
so
the
jittery.
fifth planet from the sun. Ask anyone what the most striking object in the telescope is, and they'll all agree that it's Saturn.
There.
Saturn is the second of the gas giants in our solar system, and only Jupiter is larger. Saturn turns very
Stay where
quickly
you
on
are.
its axis,
Perfect.
with a day lasting only about 10
That's so
and a half
cool.
hours. The rings of Saturn are perhaps 1 mile thick. No one knows for
All right,
sure,
we've gone
but
full
it's
circle.
thought that the rings are made up of dust, snowflakes, and ice. Saturn is not the only planet with rings. Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus were all discovered to have rings during the Voyager spacecraft flybys in late
All right,
1780.
I'll try and go through the video and see if there's any questions I missed. Thank you so much for checking it out, and welcome to space. It's been a long time. I missed you all. Hope you're staying safe. Love you. Bye.
That has an atmosphere, and liquids may flow or have